and welcome to Kalia's Playbook, where we talk to athletes about their careers, life after college, the lessons learned along the way, and so much more. Today, we are joined by Southfield, Michigan native, DePaul women's basketball alumni turned overseas pro, Deja Church. Deja, thank you so much for being here today.
Of course. I'm so excited to be here and get to chat and catch up with you. So I'm excited to chat and start.
Okay, Deja, let's talk about your overseas career right now because you woke up to the lovely islands of Greece today. I'm part Greek, so like I'm a little bit biased to it that you are in Greece now. So I'm probably
What?
that up a little bit. But this is your second season playing in Greece, but you've been able to play in France, Mexico, Sweden, Chile. What has your experience been like right now in Greece and compared to the other countries that you played for and why you wanted to sign for a second season there?
So first, Greece is amazing. It's always been one of my dreams to play here. I think when I was in college, I was privileged enough to go on a foreign trip, and we went to Italy and we went to Greece. So I remember telling my like 18-year-old self, because it was my freshman year, I was like, oh, like I want to play in Greece. Like I don't care. I want to play Greece. I want to play Greece. So my first year, I played in Sweden, and then the second year, I had the opportunity to come to Greece, and of course, I went for it. I fell in love with it, and then of course, I'm back here for my third year, and I would say that Greece is so different from the other places that I've been to, just as far as like obviously the people, the cuisine, the culture. And I think the thing that I love most about it, obviously, is just the weather. I mean, like we're over here in the fall, winter time, and the rest of the country, the rest of the world is majority like freezing cold, and then you have kind of a luxury of playing basketball games, and on your off days you get to go to the beaches and like see things that you've never seen like ever in your life. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I love Greece. Like if I can sign again next year, I might come back.
Well, I'm glad Greece is treating you well. I've actually never even been to Greece. Like I'm part Greek, but I've never been, and that's definitely been a dream trip of mine. So anytime you post something, just know that I'm living vicariously through you because I'm like, I really wish I was on a beach right now, like somewhere warm, considering -5 degrees here last week. But we're not going to talk too
Yeah.
much about that right now. We're just gonna. But I also want to know just kind of like what has it been like culturally for you? Was it a culture shock or was it easy for you to transition to once you got comfortable, especially after being here for going on for another season? Was like the food a foreign concept to you, the language, or does it really help being part of a team that can get you through something like that?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. So my first year, like I said, I played in Sweden, and Sweden is a country that's very like their people are just very educated, really, really smart people, very clean. So majority of my people that I met in Sweden spoke really good English. So the transition there was honestly, it wasn't bad. Like I didn't have like a language barrier. Obviously, anywhere I go, because I'm such a foodie, there's always going to be like a transition compared to American food and like food in Sweden. So that was the hardest transition for me. Now it depends. Like so, in the summer times, I go play. My first year, I went to Chile, and then second year, I played in Mexico. Now those are a bit different because people they speak English, but they're not as fluent in English as some countries in Europe. So
Mhm.
it is a bit of like a culture shock because maybe your coach doesn't speak English well or your teammates. So it's like a little bit of frustration there. But also in those countries, it's the first language is Spanish, and growing up we learned Spanish, so we can kind of operate like you don't have to know it fluent, but like you can understand and like you can survive. Whereas I've also played in France, and I don't know if a lot of people know, but like a lot of French people they don't speak English. You
Mhm.
know, French people, they're very prideful like Americans. So they just know French, and that's just it is what it is. They're not gonna learn English for you. So that was France was probably my most difficult place because it was just so hard for me to understand the language and the dialect. And also the food in France wasn't my favorite. But I had an amazing time there, so I have nothing bad to say. But overall, every country I go to, it's always like a bit of like a shock to me. But I always try to like indulge myself into the culture and not just stay in my room and don't speak to my teammates and things like that. I always try to like get out and like go the extra mile to learn something about their culture because it helps helps you adapt quicker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What was your biggest fear about going overseas? If you had
Um Yeah, I would say just missing my family.
Mhm.
I'm such a family oriented person. I have a big family, so honestly, and my family and my friends, I'm really close to everyone. So I knew that would be my hardest part, especially with the time difference. It's so hard to like maintain friendships and keep in contact with your loved ones because of the time difference. Like right now, I'm in Greece and I'm 8 hours ahead of you in Chicago.
Mm.
So it's a bit difficult, but I think my friends and family, they do a very good job of like understanding like that I'm here, like I'm over here playing basketball, and basketball is only is this much of my life, you know, like it's gonna fly past, and they understand like you know, if I can't speak to them every single day, or maybe I don't speak to them two days, like they don't get upset with me, especially my friends, and like I try to go out my way to like maintain that constant communication because it is hard and you do get lonely and you do get sad. And you know, my first season, not to ramble on, but my first season, I experienced the first time in my life like seasonal depression because
Mhm.
I was in Sweden and the sun was going down at 3 p.m. and I just didn't understand. I didn't understand what was going on. So it was very sad at time. But I know like what I'm here for, and I try to just stay focused and you know stay locked in on my goals and everything. And then the time kind of flies by. And then in the summertime, I have more time to enjoy myself, my friends, and family.
I want to talk a little bit about the team dynamics as well, because obviously there's a group of women that are coming from so many different stages of life. And, you know, it's different in the USA. There's still kind of the common consensus of, you know, even just speaking English or just obviously you guys can all come from different backgrounds still. But once you go overseas, you guys are coming from different countries. Obviously, there's a lot of women on the team that are still natives of Greece, but you still have some of the imports, I believe is what you guys are called, some of the imports. That are from different countries. So, what is it like being able to mesh with such a different group of people?
Um, so the thing is, you have to be open to it because if you come in very prideful with like, you know, in our American ways, they cannot accept things like how they're shown, or they can like look at you in a certain way where you come off cocky or things like that. So, you know, I try to come in very humble, and like very try to understand like my privileges that I had of going to college and you know, getting school paid for and learning from such great coaches, especially Doug Bruno. I try not to like flaunt that like while I'm out here because at the end of the day, we're all different and we come from different parts of life and different countries. But I think basketball does an amazing job of gelling everyone from different culture, religion, whatever you are together. So I try to, you know, use basketball as a starting block to to start relationships with my teammates and my coaches, and you know, speak to them outside of the basketball court so they can like get a better understanding of who I am. Because the truth of the matter is, you know, these different people like the Greek players, they have built their careers over here and they're just as passionate as I am about basketball. So they might feel a certain way that another player is coming from America to join their team. And the reality is, we get, paid more than the native players here. So they might feel a certain way. There might be some jealousy. It's just human nature. But, just staying humble and like understanding your purpose and trying to gel with your teammates is very important. I don't try to like get the big head or anything like that. And I know like they see that I'm actually like invested into the culture and in trying to win. And pretty much everyone has like accepted me, especially me. I'm such like a personality person. So it's been pretty cool so far.
So I'm curious, especially when you said in your time in France that that was one of the hardest times in terms of the language barrier aspect of things, because it was just like you either spoke French or you didn't. And obviously, I'm sure that as a French coach or just any coach that you have had through each country that you've been in, they want to learn how to connect with you and be able to give feedback. But how was that kind of difficult for you in your development as a basketball player overseas? If there was a language barrier in terms of getting that feedback.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. France was something else. So my coach, he spoke English, but he didn't speak it well, and then he had the accent. And when I got to France, I came in towards the end of the season because I started out in Greece, but I was playing well, so I had the opportunity to go to a better league. So they brought me in towards the end of the season, and they told me that I was playing point guard. I haven't played point guard since my freshman year of college. I've always been like a shooting guard. So day one, they expected me to come in and lead the team, as a point guard floor general.
Right.
And I just couldn't understand anything that the coach was saying. And like, as a point guard, you have to have a really good relationship with your coach because you are the coach on the floor. So it was just so hard for me. Like, he would tell me to run a play, he would tell me what he wanted, and I was just looking at him like seriously just confused. And it was frustrating me because I wanted to understand him and I wanted to like be this really good point guard, but I just couldn't understand the man. So like that was like one of my biggest hurdles of my career. It was so frustrating just being out there. But luckily I did have like 4 other Americans who were trying their best to help me. Oh, one of my teammates was Marte Gray. She went to DePaul as well. So she did a really good job to try to help me and try to like gel me into the program as well. But when situations happen like that, I don't know what you can do. I mean, I don't even think it's on me at this point. It's on the club because I've also played in Chile and my coach, he didn't speak English at all. But they hired a translator. So every time out, the translator would just talk to me, and like the coach, all he knew was dribble, pass, and shoot. He was just dribble, pass, and shoot. And that was all I needed to know.
The basic fundamentals. He was like, as long as you got that, the translator can take care of the rest here.
Yeah, exactly.
But something that I also thought was interesting when speaking with Lexi and just kind of her career overseas is that's a little bit different, where in America right now, I think especially the focus in this younger generation of basketball players is that you really have to be able to do everything. Like if you're lacking in one area, it's almost like you're not doing good enough in general as a player. Yeah. But overseas, they kind of play to your strengths more and find ways to utilize what you're good at to help the rest of the team. How do you feel about that in terms of your own team dynamics? Is that the same thing that you've seen across the countries that you've played in and compared to your time being in America?
Yeah, I would have to agree with everything Lexi said. And the point of view I have, like when I sign to certain teams, it's things that they want because they're trying to build the complete team, and they can't just take a whole bunch of players that average 20 plus points and put them on the team. It's not going to work. So they're they're trying to build a team based off like the product that you're selling. So for every team that I've been on, it's for teams wanting me for different reasons. Obviously, my first year, like they just needed a score, so I was just there to score the ball. When I went to Mexico, they needed a shooter. Like coach told me on the phone, like our 3-point percentage is low, and we need you to shoot. And okay, so they signed me on that. So I came there, and I was just the whole time I was just running off of screens, running off of stagger screens, and doing what they needed me to do. And I've also signed to France where I had to be a floor general, a passer first. And, you know, some teams might sign you to be a defender. So I think it's important to know your strengths and to capitalize off your strengths because you can make really good money off of that. But also being aware of the things that you need to work on as well. So just because a team needs you for shooting, that doesn't mean you just go out there and just shoot every time you touch the ball. Like at the end of the day, these teams are using you to get what they want. So you need to use them as well. So if you're a shooter, but you need to showcase your other skills as well while you have your time on the floor.
So what was your sales pitch to a lot of the teams, especially now that you've been in a couple different countries? Obviously, you're coming from a prominent program as DePaul, but what has sort of been your marketing to teams on how you sell yourself to them and how you can benefit them as a group?
Yeah, so for me so far it's been I've been kind of put into this category as just a scorer. Like teams sign me if they need a score. For the past seasons, I've been putting up like really good numbers as far as like my points averages, my field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and stuff like that. But over, I think like 6 months ago, I had an opportunity to go to a really big team, and the feedback that I got from the coach was defense. And it's not that he said I wasn't playing no defense, but it was like they really needed a defender. So just being transparent, I didn't get a job that I wanted because they questioned my ability to defend. So that always is in the back of my mind. And every time I get out there, I'm trying to show like I'm trying to be the best defender on the floor. And now I think I'm starting to get that respect in that area where, oh, not only is she a scorer, but she plays defense as well. So that has been one of my goals right now because I am very confident in my offensive game. But sometimes in the process, when you sign as a scorer, your coach, they don't care about defense. They just want you to score the ball. So I've started to get more relaxed in that role. And now, like, in order to get to the next level, it has came back and bitten me that, like, I need to focus on defense more. So that's where I'm at and where I'm trying to go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm learning about the overseas stuff and the more conversations I have too. So there is a Euro Cup and a Euro League. Is the difference between those?
Yes.
The Euro League is sort of a higher level of competition, but there's only like 16 or so teams that have to compete to play in that league. But there also are very prominent Euro Cup teams. So the team that you are on right now, where does that lie within that sort of league cup? How high?
Yeah. So the team, so it's like for different leagues, each year you have an opportunity to be promoted into like Euro Cup or Euro League. So last year I was on a team and we did really well. And the following year we like got the team to Euro Cup. So the team that I'm on, we're neither. We're nothing right now. But the team I was on last year, we did get them to Euro Cup and they're playing in Euro Cup. And if you do like really well, I don't know. I'm not 100% certain, but like if you do really well in Euro Cup or you make it like a certain level, I think you get like promoted to Euro League. And Euro League is like the highest of the high. And I believe like if you're in Euro League and like you possibly like lose some games, you get demoted to Euro Cup. Now Euro League is like everyone is like good. That's where all your like W players are and like really like stamped like overseas players. And then like Euro Cup, there's some really good Euro Cup teams as well, but then there's some like really like subpar teams as well. So it's like a common ground. Once you get to like the playoffs, everyone is like really good, but like the goal for like overseas players would be EuroLeague.
Okay. And you just explained it a little bit in terms of EuroLeague. That's where you're going to see a lot of W players that are, off season, getting more training, playing, going back to the W. For you, what has the competition looked like in general as compared to maybe something you experienced while you were at DePaul and Michigan? Do you think it's the same level, harder, or it just kind of varies?
I think it varies on like what league you're in. Now, for me, I think like, so there's some really tough leagues out here, right? So France is a very competitive league. Turkey is a competitive league. It's a competitive league, and they have like a lot of like W players as well. I've heard Spain is like really competitive. Also, China has like a bunch of W players, but the league isn't that competitive because it's only like 2 W players, and it's a lot of the the Chinese players that play there. So it really just depends. But the most competitive, Italy is a really competitive one as well. But I think France by far has been the most competitive league that I played in. And I would say I wouldn't compare it to college. I think it's better than college, whether I was at Michigan or DePaul, because the girls are just strong, bigger, faster. Like these are grown women that you're playing against. And I remember like last year we played against like Gabby Williams. Like you have your big names in those leagues, and it's a different style of play. I would probably compare it to the W as far as like every night you have to match up against the best of the best, like tall, powerful at every position. And that's by far the toughest league. A lot of people would say Turkey is really tough as well, but I think France got it hands down.
And this is something we already sort of talked about before even jumping on the call fully, but I want to know what it's like for your own self-care, and as somebody that has curly hair, playing overseas, trying to figure out you're in different countries that don't necessarily have the same hair textures as you, trying to find a stylist again when you have those language barriers. I know you're somebody that knows how to do your own hair, but again, I do not have the patience to do my own hair. So I want to know what are the realities for maybe specifically a player of color in a country that doesn't have the same hair texture as them? What has your hair journey been playing overseas?
Okay, well, first of all, your hair is amazing, and I've seen your hair go through a lot of styles, and it still looks really good. But for me, so like one thing that I was very surprised going overseas is that it is a lot of let me see how I word this. There's a lot of people of color outside of America, and I did not know that. Like I was like, especially in France, like it is just it's so many people with African descent in like a lot of these countries, and there's a lot of people that actually do hair. Now, in where I'm at in Greece, I do not have that luxury. There's not as many like people of African descent or anything. It's just like a lot of Greek people. So it's more challenging like here, but like when I was in Sweden and when I was in France, they actually had like beauty shops, like beauty supply stores, and they would import products straight from like Africa. Some people imported products from America. So I had no problem. Like I can find someone to braid my hair who was really good, who did not cost as much as it would in America. But here in Greece, here in Greece, I don't have that luxury, and I don't have the luxury of finding products for my hair texture and things like that. So before I get over here, I tell you, I have a whole suitcase that I bring full of hair products, down to gel, shampoos, creams. I bring braiding hair. I bring hair extensions. Like, I don't play. I don't mess around. Okay.
You're playing something,
So
and that's only basketball. You're not gonna play about your hair.
that's what I'm saying. And when I run out, I'm on the phone with my friends back home. Can you send me this? Like, I need it. I usually send stuff 3 months in ahead because, like, if I run out, what am I gonna do? Like, there's nothing I can do. So I have to be on top of it. So yeah, I just play around with my hair. I honestly, it's like a hobby at this point because it's like something that like takes my mind off of basketball. And of course, like when you step outside, there's a lot of people like who've never seen like somebody of my skin tone or my hair texture. So everyone is just outside giving you compliments, but you have to also take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
But the best thing is like I just use it like as a hobby of mine. So yeah, it hasn't been bad. Like some people struggle really bad, but it hasn't been bad.
Yeah, no, I know knowing myself, I'd be stressed until I have things figured out. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have people send things to me, this, that. I just know as soon as I get there, I know I'm already probably coming with braids in my head, and those braids are gonna have to last as long as possible because I'm not gonna know what else to do with myself. So I absolutely commend you on your hair journey there. And again, I've seen you go through your blonde phase, go back to natural, and just like being able to see your hair journey, I respect it. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But I am curious, just to back to the point of, going back to France, Sweden, you said there are more people of color and of African descent. So, and maybe that's something that people don't really realize until they experience it. But, going from that and then transitioning to Greece, and you said, kind of having to take things with a grain of salt when somebody is complimenting you. Was that difficult for you at first to kind of accept, or were you just kind of like, oh, like whatever, that's just how it's going to be?
Yeah, I think it was difficult for me to accept. So I had a situation last year where I went to a basketball game out here in Greece and I like posted a TikTok and it went viral and it was absolutely crazy. Like 3 million people seen it. And like it was on the news channel here. It was like on all the sports websites. It was absolutely insane. And all of the comments were, not all of them, but like majority of the comments were like very racist comments and like things geared to like Black people and just saying like really hurtful things. And it like the comments had no context to the video at all. Like the video that I posted was honestly just showing like what a Greek basketball game looked like. And they just took it the extremely wrong way. And I think that was like my first experience where like I was like, whoa, like these people actually like aren't as nice as I thought they would. After like all the comments, it made me really sad. And my agent and my coaches were like, and my whole team, they were getting hate messages for the video that I posted. They were just getting so many bad things were just said. And it was unfortunately, like I kind of looked at the people in a certain way because I started, thinking like everyone was out to get me and things. So it's kind of hurtful because a lot of people here, they don't get the experience or the privilege to see different cultures and different minority people walking around as so if you lived in France or Germany, because there's a lot of like Black German people as well. So it is what it is though.
And again, not to harp on it for too long, I just do think it is an important topic, though, for maybe a predominantly Black player, just speaking from your experience personally. Well, what are the realities of maybe having to deal with racism? Obviously, you can deal with racism in America, but what are the realities of having to deal with racism when you're playing overseas?
It's very common, I think in America, I can't say that. I think over here, people, they don't understand how deep like racism is, because obviously they didn't have the whole story of like Black people being forced to leave their country or their continent and come to another country. They don't understand that part of it. So I think when you experience racism or you experience any type of prejudices over here, they don't think it's that big of a deal because they just don't understand. So it's a lot of things that is said, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, because if you react to things, at the end of the day, you're an import. So it's going to be your fault. Like, it doesn't matter what happened or what was said. It's the way you react and the way you can control your emotions about things. Because if you react in a wrong way, that can hurt your career, even though it's not your fault. So some things, unfortunately, you have to let it go in one ear and out one ear, because these people, some of these people are just not educated on racism and what it is and the things that they're saying. So you can sit up there and you can go back and forth with someone and fight with them, trying to explain yourself. But at sometimes it's best to just keep your mouth shut and just remain focused on what you're here to do. Honestly, that's the best way I can describe it. As far as sexism as well, because I've experienced just as much of sexism, just as much as racism. Like, the game in some parts of Europe is not respected like the men's game. So a lot of like coaches and, they kind of look down on women's basketball, and it sucks. It's the same in America as well. They look down on it, but you have to just like continue to prove people wrong with the game. Like, no, you don't need to talk. You don't need to argue. Just do what you're here to do, and like the work will show. So at the end of the day, I try to stay focused on what I'm here for, and I can't argue everyone down, or I can't like continue to waste my energy on things that is bigger than me. So I'm gonna need a whole army to fight this battle, and I can't put my time and energy to that right now.
So as you're watching the growth of women's sports, especially women's basketball, WNBA, Unrivaled now, grow back in America, is that something that you and maybe others, maybe not on your team, but in general, other players that are playing overseas that aren't, in the W, playing in those other leagues, trying to embody of showing that, hey, like women's sports is growing here and it can do the same overseas?
Yeah, I think it's, as a collective, I think that's what we're all here for, because there is a market overseas that is continuing to grow. A lot of people talk about the Unrivaled League. They talk about AU and how these leagues are growing, but there's a market overseas that's growing as well. And, like I spoke on the Chinese league just a year ago, you were only allowed to have one import on each team. And I think like this year now they have like 3 imports, and that's room for other players who decide to go overseas to make a lucrative amount of like money, and those opportunities weren't present a year ago. And same for other countries, as a lot of these players are staying home and not coming overseas, that means more jobs is available for other players who want to create a career overseas, or who are working to get to the W, back to the W, or opportunities to play in the States. So I think we all have a point in a purpose in this, to show up not only as ourselves, but to represent America. Like, we're all one, and I think it's dope what they're doing with the Unrivaled League. I watch all the clips back home. I love it, and I'm actually sad I can't like go to a game and support and stuff. But I think a lot of girls over here do have dreams, aspirations to play in the W and to get back to the States and play. Like, so all these opportunities that we have out here in every game matters, because they are signing players from overseas, and they are looking at players over here, and things that's happening in Europe is very important in America. So I think it's dope that the game is just growing all over the world.
There's one thing to be a basketball player and, have that be your identity. I think it's a whole other thing to say that you're a women's basketball player, a Black women's basketball player. What does it mean to you to be a woman in sports? As corny as that may sound of being, a woman in sports, but, I think a lot of those things are getting addressed now. So what does it mean to you to be a woman being an athlete playing sports?
I think it's like the most amazing thing ever. I speak to a lot of like my older family members and a lot of older people, and it's just night and day to the things that like they're the things that they were doing when they were our age and the things that we're doing. And like even speaking to my grandma, she's just so shocked and so amazed at the career and the lifestyle that I have built for myself. So just to be able to be a part of this journey right now and like the way women's sports is taken off, like this is like the biggest jump we have made since we've started playing. And it's just amazing to be able to say that, hey, I was a part of this. And hey, once I get older and I start my own family, to explain to my kids and to show them things that I have done. I mean, I'm just like, I'm living in the moment right now, but like, I truly am proud of myself. And that's hard for me to say because I'm extremely tough on myself, but I'm extremely blessed to be like in this generation and doing this movement with the rest of the women in the world.
While you've been playing overseas, again, you're away from friends, you're away from family. Basketball is the main reason why you're there. What has kept you going outside of basketball to be like, I can get, like you said earlier, it's a small portion of your life, but also you're present in the moment. So what has gotten you through being overseas outside of just basketball?
I think for me is not just being in my room and just basketball, go wake up, go to practice, go to sleep, practice, sleep, game. I think it's important that we take advantage of the open time that we have to meet other Americans, meet the people that live here, or go out and see new things, try new things. Because although basketball is my job and this is what I'm here for, I am very aware of like that basketball is going to end one day. So I try to network every single chance that I get, whether it's with teammates or players on other teams. I try to continue to like build a resume for myself that when I'm done playing, that it could be more of a smooth transition. So I think for me is just getting out, absorbing the culture, being like a sponge and taking everything in. Any opportunity or break that I have to like go somewhere, go visit a friend in a different country, I'm all for it. So I try to like live the complete life and not just, have that ballless life mentality. And, I have to give credits to Angel Reese because she's definitely like the whole, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to play basketball type of girl. And that's always has been me. So I love everything that she is doing as well.
And a little Chicago shout out too while you're at it, because like she's playing for the Sky.
Yeah.
So it all comes full circle. But I think that's so
Shout
important.
out to Chicago.
I really like that you brought that up though, because I think it is so important to highlight that there are different realities for maybe a women's player compared to a men's player. And I think, as you said as well, something that's so great that Angel Reese embodies it, that people try to diss her for, is that she is all these things on top of being a basketball player. And it's important to have an identity outside of being just a basketball player, But for you, how have you been able to shape your identity outside of basketball? You said you're building your resume. What does that look like for you? Like, what do you want Deja Church to be after basketball eventually ends for you?
That is a really good question. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure it out to this day. And I know there's a lot of girls or a lot of women in my shoes who feel the same way. But I think for me, it's just, I'm in a space where like, I have a lot of interests. I have a lot of things that I like to do. And I'm trying to see like, what would be like the best route for me to go. So as well, like I'm over here overseas, I try to still stay connected with life in America. So I like do a lot of things online, and I'd like attend a lot of seminars online, and I try to keep my LinkedIn page updated and communicating off of there, whether it's just randomly waking up one day and just decide to email 10 people in the field that I'm interested in to speak with them. I try to just make my time valuable. And I think that's important because one day the ball is going to stop dribbling and I have to figure out what I want to do. And I wanted to be able to choose that whether I want to be able to choose that other than being forced into a career that I have to do or whatever. Also just keeping like my contacts, like just checking up on people and just, making sure like you're in a good space with people. Cause me and Doug Bruno, Dougie boy, I call him once every blue moon, like, hey Doug, how's the team looking? How you doing? Like, I'm gonna call you in a few years.
It's been a little minute.
I know. I try my best to just stay connected with the real world and everything.
I think that's so important too, because especially as an athlete, and I'm sure even during your time as being a student athlete, you have such a demanding schedule. So making sure that you're still prioritizing what life is going to look like for you after all of this ends. And so much of it does come down to who you know. And networking, I feel like, especially for an athlete, can be a completely different thing because you guys don't really have, especially in school, as many opportunities to have an internship and be able to attend all these things, seminars, stuff like that, as compared to, an average student that has a little bit more time in their schedule, and they're mainly there just to do school and get a job afterwards. They don't have to go to practice, dribble basketball. I mean, again, like I was a manager, but I still have the time to, I'm hanging out with y'all, but I still have the time to, go get an internship and do something else. I can make it of like, hey, I can't go to practice today. I need a job after this. You know what I mean? You guys don't have that same privilege of doing so. So I think that's so important for you to highlight and just the realities of what it's like afterwards. But I do want to all these hints at Doug Bruno. I do want to talk about Doug now and your time at DePaul. Yes. And something that is just so funny to me is everybody kind of expressing the Dougieisms that they remember, and just he was just a walking quote machine. Anything he said, you're like, wait a minute, like. That was really something. Like that sat with me a little bit. So I'm just curious. I've been asking everybody, what are some of the Doug quotes that sit with you till this day?
On my hard days, I still tell myself, wake up in the morning with a smile, show the world you're beautiful, thank God for another day. That is my all-time quote. Shout out to Doug Bruno. Because, days do get hard and you get caught up in what's happening, and this is your job. So if you're not producing, you're gonna get fired, and sometimes you have to just calm down and breathe and like be appreciative of the space you're in and like everything. And it's just some of those quotes just go through my head, and I'm so appreciative of Doug. Like I still check in when I can, and I still watch the team and just see how they're doing. And he was an amazing coach, but more importantly, he was just a great like role model, especially at that time in my life. Like I know I can speak for a bunch of people when I say he was like almost like a second dad to us. Like he truly cared about us, and I'm so grateful to have experienced that time with him. And like I just know those quotes are gonna be. When I have a family, I'm like, wake up in the morning with a smile.
Thank God for another day. Okay, never forget it.
Nice.
But kind of going back to that, where it's just like, I think, again, as you said, you can speak for multiple people on it, because anyone that has been coached by him has said that, yes, he was a great coach, and you just learned the game of basketball so well from him, because he just he has such a high basketball IQ, been around basketball for, I think this was like going into his 34th season or something. Like, he's true to this, not new to this. But everybody has really said just the role that he played outside of just coaching and just being a role model. How important was that for you as a young woman in college to, again, stuff gets difficult, schedules are hard, playing basketball isn't always necessarily waking up and you're like, got to go to another practice today. But how important was it for you to have a role model like that when you're stepping on campus and you're only like, you had transferred in, so you're 20 years old. How does he develop you as a human being?
I think one of the things I'm so appreciative of is that obviously we're all there for basketball, and well, first we're there for our education, and then immediately after we're there for basketball. But one thing I appreciated is that he was so in tune to the current events and to the things that has happened to the real world, and he would literally stop basketball so we can have an understanding on the things that was happening. And the time that I was there, it was the George Floyd thing and a lot of like police brutality. And he just went out of his way every single day to educate himself as a white man to understand his role in society. And then the way he approached us and brought it to us, it was just amazing to like be around and to understand in the midst of craziness in this world, we also have to take time to ourselves and to, understand what's going on in the real world. Martin Luther King Day just passed, and I remember every Martin Luther King Day, we will be in that film room reading the I Have a Dream speech and really understanding everything that he has done, Martin Luther King has done for us to this day. Like, he's so appreciative of like what we have now. He has seen everything. He has been at the highest level of basketball. He has coached at the Olympics. And it's like, for a man who have seen a lot of things, who have coached the best players, and to come into this gym with us, we think we're somebody, we're really not nobody. To come to this gym with us and to be able to teach us something and to learn from him, and him not feeling bigger or better than us, even though he is, but to listen to us and that input, he would make us feel seen and heard. I mean, just hats off to him. He's such an amazing man, such an amazing coach, such an amazing family man, that I don't have one bad thing to say about Doug. Even on the days where he had ripped me in half, I have nothing bad to say about him.
That's important too, because I mean, Doug's not going to be light on you. I mean, he's not light to the players. He's not light to the managers. At the end of the day, he wants what's best for you, though. But I get, again, like, I think, especially you see now, and I want you to comment on this as well. But I think what you're seeing now is, with introductions of maybe like NIL, players that maybe believe that they are a bit bigger than what they really are. I feel like Doug always wanted to make sure that everybody that stepped on his court was a humble person. How important was that at a young age to have somebody that's like, hey, like, you might be a big time basketball player playing at a big program, but also check yourself. How important was that for you?
Yeah. So for me, I was there the first year of NIL, and I believe I was the first athlete to approach him with like some NIL deals. Mm-hmm. And just where the whole country was trying to figure it out and learn about NIL, he was right in those meetings as well, trying to figure out and trying to learn what was happening. And I can tell that he knew, like, under his skin, like, in a few years, this is going to get really bad. Like, these players has opportunities to make some really good money. Yeah. And I just, again, like, to him, just staying in that humble place and understanding, like, what the game is about, what the game has done for him, and how far it has brought us. I mean, it's truly amazing. Like, he always preached, if you have the opportunity to play basketball, go ahead and do it, because, working and your job life is going to be there for the rest of your life. So, like, he always talked about how every time you're on the floor at practice, giving it your all, every time during the game, giving it your all, every time in film, like in the weight room, like, just being appreciative of the moment, because you don't know when something is going to end or something tragic can happen. And I mean, he's just a true testament of like fighting through adversity and just continue to push. And I mean, Doug has been through a lot as far as like his health and his physical, like how he feels physically, and just to see like him get out there every day and give his all when we know everyone knows like he doesn't have to do it, but like he wants to, and like having a coach like that who knows like they just genuinely love the game. It just makes you, if you have nothing to do it, nobody to do it for, you don't even want to do it for yourself, like you're gonna want to do it for Doug. And I think that might has carried not only me but a lot of my teammates on to do great things in life, not even basketball wise, just in the real world.
And I think that's so important what you said too, because obviously he's significantly older. He didn't have to get up and do it every day. It's something that he wanted to do and has done for decades at this point.
Yeah.
And I've always been curious what you guys thought about this. Do you think he's gotten enough credit for pushing women's basketball to where it is today? Because I think a lot of people turn to, like a Dawn Staley, which she absolutely has, but like I think a lot of people that are maybe more new to women's basketball look at like a Dawn Staley or like what Kim Mulkey's doing, stuff like that, like the current coaches. But Doug has been in this for a while now, and he is very passionate about women's basketball, or even a Gino over at UConn. Do you think he's gotten the recognition he deserves for pushing women's basketball to where it is today?
No, I don't believe he has gotten the recognition that he deserves. But I will say that, like, those who know, like those Genos and those Dawn Staleys, like they know the impact that Doug Bruno has had. Even the players, like to Sue Birds and Maya Moores, like the way they speak on Doug Bruno is like, sometimes I'm starstruck because I'm like, that was my coach. Like, wow, like just having the opportunity to learn from him is truly a blessing. And, Doug is just truly like one of the most humble human beings that like I know. And he never does anything for fame or notoriety. He just does it because he genuinely loves the game. Like there's no other reason. And I think that aspect, like he needs to be given his flowers over and over and over again. I mean, I know they just got the new facility over there at DePaul, and the court is named after him. But I don't think nothing can, like, I know he's in the Hall of Fame now, and he's just done so much for women's basketball that I think we should just continue to be giving that man his flowers. And I don't know, like, what else there is to do, but he is one of the greatest to ever coach the game of basketball and to make an impact on players. And I'm so happy that, like, his peers and stuff, obviously they understand. But, like, women's basketball since the past few years have just been, like, put on, like, a grand stage and, like, a big spotlight where there are a lot of new people to this, like, who's catching on, who's behind on things. So hopefully, like, he can get the recognition that he can get in the next few years and stuff. But I think regardless, like, he's just the best, and I think everybody knows that. So
I also think it's interesting too, by the time that you come to DePaul, NIL's coming about, you're one of the first athletes to be like, all right, like I can get some money off of this. How do we go about it? What was that like for you, trying to understand and navigate how can I utilize what I'm doing on the court to, make some money for myself in college?
Yeah, I think so. My year, it was the first year and nobody knew nothing. So like it was just me, Doug, and PV. And we're just trying to figure out and navigate, like, what the heck is NIL? What are the steps that you have to take? Like, it was kind of crazy, but like the opportunity of athletes making money was just like insane to me. And I know, like, back then, like, a lot of people from home was reaching out to me, and I just wanted to make sure I did it the right way. So I was bringing the attention to Doug, and Doug was confused, and he was telling me to go to PV, go to compliance. He's like, whatever you do, we got to go to compliance. And that's another thing about Doug. That man follows the rules. Like, he is a rule man to the T. Like, he does everything the right way. And I think it was just amazing in that aspect, like for me to able to be on a big stage and to make a little bit of money at the time. I think it's great for the athletes. I don't know what's going to happen in their future,
Mm.
but I hope we get some regulations on it because it's getting kind of crazy.
And what I mean, I guess even for you thinking back to your recruiting process, money wasn't even a question on like, I can go to
Yeah.
this school and make all this money. I can go to this other school and make even more money. So I'm a go back and tell this other school somebody else gave me more money. You know what I mean? And like kind of vouch for yourself in that
Mhm.
way. I guess how does it maybe again, people love basketball or whatever sport they're playing, they're doing it because they love the sport, and again, like they should have opportunities to do so, make money for themselves. But how does it, in your point of view, maybe take away from just going somewhere because the love of the game and the love of the school and wanting to play for those coaches and those players?
Yeah, I don't think it's a right or wrong answer to this because I feel it does take away some of the the fun part of the game and the love for the game. I have really close friends that coach at the highest level of basketball, college basketball, and when we're having conversations behind closed doors, and they're telling me that NIL is ruining college basketball, and I agree. But then I also agree with like these athletes who are bringing in money for their school should be compensated. They should be compensated. And then I even think on the other hand, like, what about the athletes who been there, done that, received no money? The Skylar Diggins, like those
Mm.
people had such a huge impact to the game. Like I was in middle school rocking my Sky Dig headband. Like
Right.
she killed it. So it's like it's no right or wrong answer. And I don't know what I don't know what to believe. Like I know these players should be getting compensated, but I don't think it's right that players are going to schools for money. Oh, this school is gonna give me this amount of money, or I'm promised this, so I should go here. I don't believe that should happen. I know it's been happening for years on the football side. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real. It's been happening for a long time, but with especially with women's basketball, it's a sport where if you're gonna play women's basketball, you love it.
Mm.
Because when I was growing up, the salaries of women basketball wasn't that great. You could be a school teacher and you can make more money. So anybody who played it actually loved it. So I
Yeah.
just don't want it to take away from the love part of the game and people only doing it for the money. So I don't have no answers or no more comments on it. It's just I pray for everybody involved.
Yeah. That's all you can do sometimes. Just sit back
Out of
and
it.
pray. Oh, that's funny. But I also got just kind of between the college and professional space of things, you said that, somebody is playing women's basketball, they really gotta love it. So what was your decision to, and when you were younger, did you ever really think, hey, I want to play professional women's basketball? And at what point in college or, between graduating and figuring out what you want to do, did you consider, hey, I can go play professionally and keep getting paid for what I love to do?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest with you. Like throughout my years of growing up, I played because my parents told me that we can't afford to send you to college and pay for it. So
Mhm.
my best bet was to get an athletic scholarship. And like growing up, I never had dreams of playing professionally. Like I had a lot of like different dreams that I wanted to do and a lot of careers I wanted to pursue. And once I got to, so I took my 5th year. Once I got to my 5th year, I still was like, I thought about it, like, huh, maybe I should like try to play, continue to play. But I was more so like 70-30, like, hey, like I'm done after this. Like my body hurts. I'm tired of these practices. And then in the summertime, I took some time away from basketball, and a few agents were like reaching out to me, like, "Hey, you should play." you should do this and that. And then one of the agents had convinced me to play, and they signed me in Sweden. And I think like within the first month, I just felt like I fell in love again with the game. Like I fell in love with just being competitive, just getting out there, just like being on a team again. And I never really felt out of love. It was the fact like during the summer I took some time off, and reality started to hit. Like, what am I gonna do? So then like it came like full circle again, and the game came back to me. I was like having so much fun, and I'm like, a lot of agents were coming to me about my future and how much money I can make and the places that I can go and everything. And I just started to fall in love with the process. And then knowing that I can make a career out of this, it was just like, it was amazing to me. Like, I get to wake up and play basketball and like provide for myself and my family. Like, it was just a no-brainer for me. So I honestly just had to be thrown into the fire with it. And once I went for it, like, it was no turning back.
And, just kind of in your even earlier basketball career, coming out of high school, being able to get recruited to, basically the school that's already in your state, getting recruited to Michigan.
Yeah.
What did that feel like, being able to stay home before transferring? What did it mean to play for your home state? And I'm assuming being able to have your family come to a lot of those games, even though I know it's not a topic that you love talking about, but what was it like, at least originally, be able to stay home and play for your home state?
So since I'm out of college now, I'm gonna be 100% real with you. So I initially committed to University of Minnesota. And so when I was in college, I took all of my official visits, right? I wanted to, like, my mom was telling me, like, you need to see every school out, like, hear them out and whatever. And, my parents, they just wanted to go on the free trip. That's all it was. So, like, took all of my visits. And at the end, like, I committed to Minnesota, mainly because, like, my best friend at the time, we were like a package deal. So I really just wanted to play with my friend. Like, that's really, yeah, I wanted to play with my friend. And then once I started getting closer, I'm like, maybe I need to like really like do what's best for me. Like, obviously I've been playing with my friend my whole life. We had the connection, and it was gonna be great, like, if I went there. But okay, let me take a step back. So I went on my visit to Michigan, and girl, I met Michael Jordan.
Okay,
yeah, at the time I wasn't supposed to say nothing, but I met MJ. And I was just thinking, like, if I met MJ, who else is I going to meet?
Right.
So, like, I decommitted from Minnesota, and then I remember, like, my AU coach was like, I don't know why you, like, did that anyway. Like, Michigan is this, you stay home, and da-da-da-da. And then I started really thinking about it, like, I do have the opportunity to stay home, play for my, like, home state. And at the time, there wasn't, like, no players on the Michigan roster that were from Michigan. So it was, like, a really big deal that I would stay home, and, like, I was doing a good thing for university. And, like, so I ended up going to Michigan, and it was great. Like, my first 2 years, like, my family was at every game. I had friends come up. Like, everything was just amazing for me. I really enjoyed playing for Michigan. It was a great school, but unfortunately, like, I wanted to grow in my basketball career, and I don't think staying at Michigan was the best option for me. So then that's when I ended up leaving. But I love Michigan, and I love the coaching staff. There's nothing bad I have to say to this day. Honestly, I've seen the coaches so many times since I've left, and it's all love. Like, we laugh and stuff like that. So it's been great.
And I wanted to point out something else that you said too, because I think that's a reality for maybe a good amount of college athletes that have the opportunity to play and get recruited somewhere. Is college is not cheap. I know I owe my grad school probably a good $90K, but being able to get a scholarship and play the sport that you love. And it's a reality of like, it's, if you want to go to college, you might need to get a scholarship because not everybody can afford it.
Mhm.
So obviously in high school, you were nominated to be a McDonald's All-American game, scored over 1,000 points, over 450 rebounds in your high school career. How did that resonate with you at a young age that like you had to put in the work to earn that scholarship?
Yeah, I would give everything to my parents. I mean, they instilled in me at a very young age that anything that I wanted, I had to work for it. Um, my parents kept me in the gym. They kept me focused. Once I knew, I think around like my eighth grade, I had my first scholarship offer to a school, University of Toledo, and I still didn't I remember being at the school, and they said, we want to offer you a full ride scholarship," and I was just like, okay, like I
What was
didn't
the
understand what it was. I didn't understand, and I remember my parents like, they want to pay, they want to pay. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, I'm actually pretty good. Like, I'm actually pretty good. So, yeah, after that, we turned things up because we knew the sky was the limit for me. And, my dad like hired personal trainers for me. I had mentors around me because I grew up in an area that it it wasn't rare, but it wasn't common that you've seen women's basketball players going to school for sports and getting, it wasn't common. So, my parents just tried to keep the right type of people around me and in my circle and people to help guide me. And, I have a few mentors that helped me along the way that has played in the W and things like that. So I'm very grateful for my upbringing, but most importantly, my parents. Like, they paved the way for me, and without them, I wouldn't even be in half. I don't even know where I'll be. I wouldn't be in Greece.
And I mean, you do come
So
from
yeah,
a family of athletes. Obviously more on the
yes.
football side of things though. Your dad and your brother both played football. So was it kind of also instilled that in you at a young age that you were going to play sports? Was it ever kind of like forced? I don't want to say forced, but in a way, was it ever just like put
Mhm.
upon you, like you're gonna play a sport, or was it a decision for you to come to on your own?
Um, so it was a decision later on in life, but like growing up, so I have three brothers. All three brothers played college football, and my
Mhm.
dad played college football. So at a young age, all of us was involved in basketball. Everybody played basketball. I did gymnastics. For a large part of my life, I was in even competitive cheerleading. Like, I thought
Mhm.
I was gonna be a cheerleader. It was crazy. Like even I can do like some crazy things. Like, I can do backflips, front flips. Like, that's my thing. But like, I remember like at cheerleading practice one day, yeah, like I fell on my neck and I was like crying, and my dad was like, "You're done. You're done." And I was like, "Okay, I understand." But yeah, my whole life has been sports. I mean, my oldest brother, he played football at the University of Cincinnati. At the time, they were like ranked second in the nation. My other brother went to University of Illinois, and I remember going up to his games every other weekend, watching him play. So it was very clear that sports was the identity of my family. I also ran track and field, and I was really good at that. So like my freshman year of high school, I had to make a decision whether I wanted to take basketball serious or track and field serious, because I was struggling to do both because I was getting like shin splints from track and field. And I just went with basketball because at the time, like I said, I had like one or two scholarship offers, and I knew like I knew I had a career for myself in that lane. So that was where I say I had to make the decision for myself whether to pick this or that. And once I made that decision, I just stuck with it and I just worked my butt off and I just rolled with it.
And I mean, that's a big decision to make for somebody at that age anyway. Just be like, all right, we're gonna run with this. But I do want to talk a little bit more about that competitive cheer before I let you go, because I
Okay,
just never.
okay.
You are a very, energetic person. So like that's why I was taking a second. I was kind of like letting it sit in with me. I was like, I can see her being a cheerleader, low key. I mean, obviously you're fantastic
Yeah.
basketball. But you know what? Obviously, you said the reality came to an end when you landed on your neck and you're like, "Ooh, this is not for me." But but what was that like? How do you say you can still do flips and stuff? Like, do you still in the back of your
Yeah.
head wish you could still cheer a little bit, or what's that like?
So, yeah, so I started off like, like Pop Warner leagues and stuff? Like,
Yeah.
it's like okay, yeah. So all my brothers, they like Pop Warner, and like I did the cheerleading on the side, and like I was like one of the most athletic cheerleaders in at the time for the Pop Warner leagues.
Yeah.
So I literally got recruited to join competitive cheer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. So I got recruited, and I was so good. I think I was like 13, and they were trying to put me on the senior team, which was like 17-year-olds.
Oh wow.
And like I made the team. I went to practices and stuff. I never did a competition because at the time I was 13, like on a 17-year-old team. So I was like the flyer, the one that goes in the air and stuff, because
Yeah.
I was shorter, a little thinner and stuff like that. And yeah, one practice I like fell on my neck and my head, and like I was like they called my parents. I was crying and everything, and my dad was just like, "No, you're done. You're done." And I remember like I cried so much because I loved it. It truly was like my area to like express myself. Like it was so me. Like because like deep down inside I truly am like a girly girl. And then like I was so sad when I had to close that chapter. And I will say I have no regrets in life. But I like tease my parents here and there, and I'm like, I wish y'all just would have kept me in there. I wish you would have kept me in there. But it's okay. Like I understand like the bigger picture and what they was trying to do. So it worked out.
If it makes you feel any better, my dad also told me I couldn't do cheerleading anymore. I think he was more just like he didn't like the whole girly girl aspect of it, because he was like, "Well,
Yeah.
you're gonna go back to playing basketball," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Uh, but I think for your dad, I think as somebody who played football, I'm sure he doesn't take head and neck injuries lightly. Um,
Yeah.
so he was
Mhm.
definitely probably like, "Okay, so you're done with this."
Yeah.
um,
Literally.
just also just kind of like how you spoke about your family dynamic a lot, just kind of like how much have they really played a role into who you are today?
Um, Literally, I give all my credit to my parents. I mean, first and foremost God, but like to my parents immediately after, because they pushed me in times where I didn't want to get up to go to the gym. Like I'm very grateful for the times of them not forcing me, but practically forcing you to get up and go to the gym, like because it created like what I am today, in the way like I'm just like a hustler, a go getter. Like that's I've seen my parents my whole life. Like they work to provide for me and my family, and I know like the majority of like my traits that I have, being like a hard worker, a team worker, has came from them.
Mm.
And without them, I'll be nothing. And even on the mental and emotional side, because a lot of people, they just, in the world, they just see, oh, a basketball player, oh, she can score, oh, she's this, she's and that. But at the end of the day, like when the lights go out, and the people who I vent to and help keep me sane are my family, are my parents, my brothers, my friends. So I give all credit to them, and it truly takes a village to be on this journey with me, and for me to be the person that I am. It really takes the people around me to really pour into me and to deal with like the ups and downs. So I'm so grateful for my parents, and they actually will be visiting me in 3 days. So
Oh,
I'm so
so sweet.
yeah, I'm so excited. So I'm so grateful. They try to go like to every country that I'm in, and
Yeah.
will be their first time in Greece. So I'm so excited.
Oh, that's so amazing. I hope you guys have an amazing time. That's going to be awesome. And
Yes,
then
thank
one more thing I wanted to add, because you said that cheerleading was a way for you to express yourself. What are ways that you still feel like you're able to showcase your creativity outside of just, or maybe it's on the basketball court, maybe out
you.
outside of it. But yeah, how do you kind of maintain that in your life?
It's an area where I'm still trying to figure it out. I have my moments where I love to like model and like get in front of the camera and things like that. And I know a few years ago I tried to like have my own podcast and things like that. I think it's a never ending like topic or like thing where you're trying to find yourself or you're trying to be better at like things that you're trying to do. So I don't have a clear answer as of right now, but just know every day I'm trying to answer that question.
And then just my final question for you that I've been asking everybody to close this out is, what advice, looking at who you are today and what you've gone through, what advice would you give your younger self?
Definitely take the risk. Do everything that you want to do in like your young years, of course. I know like my 5th year of college, I managed to play basketball and have an internship with the Chicago Bulls,
Mm.
and I was extremely tired. And now today I look back and I'm so thankful I did it because it was the most amazing thing. It has something I could put on my resume. I think always remember to, no matter what you do, just to have fun during the process, because things in the whole big picture of things is actually really small, the things that we do each day. So at the end of the day, just have fun, stay true to yourself, and to take those risks.
Amazing. Well, Deja, thank you so, so much for all your insight today. This was amazing. And have so much fun with your parents these next coming days.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me on here. It was great, and good luck to you in your rest of your career.
Like, thank you.